my name is Allie Schmidt. This is my dad, Dan. He owns Catron's Glass.
Thanks, Allie. Things like doors and windows go into making a house. But when it's your home, you expect more, like the great service and selection you'll get from Catron's Glass. Vinyl replacement windows from Catron's come with a lifetime warranty, including accidental glass breakage replacement. Also ask for custom shower doors and many other products and services. Call 962-1636, locally owned with local employees for nearly 30 years.
Catron's Glass, the clear choice.
Hey, do you want to catch every episode live as it's being recorded? Log on to patreon.com/BeTempered for exclusive footage behind the scenes, photos, and a live recording as it takes place. Go to patreon.com/BeTempered.
Welcome to the BeTempered podcast, where we explore the art of finding balance in a chaotic world.
Join us as we delve into insightful conversations, practical tips, and inspiring stories to help you navigate life's ups and downs with grace and resilience.
We're your hosts, Dan Schmidt and
Ben Spahr.
Let's embark on a journey to live our best lives.
This is BeTempered.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the BeTempered podcast, episode number
71, Dan.
Thank you, Ben.
You're welcome, sir.
Why'd you say it that way?
Just very confident and, just letting everybody know I know how to do my job.
Sometimes. We wanted to bring you back on because you wrote a book, dude. Like, you wrote a book, your life story. If you're watching on YouTube or on Patreon, you can see a copy of the book here. Kevin's got it up on the screen. You can see it, and it's now available for purchase on Amazon and through Shawn's website, which we'll have all linked to all these episodes and to our website. But, we wanted to bring you on here, one, to talk about that, to talk about what it was like for you writing the book, all those feelings, all those emotions, all those things. So, getting into it, I read the book last week, gave it to me on Sunday. I went home. About 2.5 hours, got through it. I couldn't put it down. It's 140 some pages. It's gets pretty detailed in a lot of your story, things that I didn't think about, things that I didn't understand. But when you encompass that with the total picture of your story, it makes a lot of things make sense to me. And so it's powerful. I encourage everyone to go out and get it and to read it. But what I want to ask you, Shawn, is I want to, we go back to episode 24, the BeTempered podcast, when you came on here and you shared your story for the first time in essentially your life, right? The full story. From that point to where you are today, I want you to talk about the manifestation that grew in you to get to that time, and then what it took from that point until now to actually write the book. Talk about that process, talk about your mindset, the challenges, all those things that you went through.
Wow, that's a long question. Wow. Again, God has put this on me for a long time. And I wasn't being obedient to God. Like, he gave me a story. He gave me a story to tell. And I felt that for a long time, and I wasn't telling it. And it all goes back to, I think, God putting a podcast on your heart to do. And that's where, like I said, that one day you told me on that football practice field that you're doing a podcast. I knew that was the avenue that I was going to go. It may have taken me, another 20 weeks to reach out and do it, but telling the story on the podcast, again, I've talked about this. It was that release off of me. It allowed people to approach me about it. So that was great. And then the thoughts I've always had in my head was confirmed by you. Write it, get it on pages, or get it on paper. So, I mean, it's just the process that I've always had in my mind. I just didn't know how to do it. And then God puts things on people's hearts to force you to do it. and I mean that. Like if you'd asked me 2 years ago, I'd have wrote a book, I literally would have bet every penny in my bank account that I would have never done this. Ever. And I still feel like you already know what I'm going to say. You said something so ridiculously a week ago that I'm mad at you for it because you put that thought in my head. Is that something I should do? And, but I believe God had a plan for me and his timing's perfect. And that's what this is about. It was extremely hard going back and rereading what I wrote on paper. But I did it. And
How long did it take you?
2 months. 2 months. Remember, I've been thinking about this for a long time. I knew the way I wanted it to flow. I just didn't. I've never wrote anything. If you know me, I literally got a D in English from Mrs. Freeman's class. We were not nice to that lady. We were a terrible class.
I wasn't in that class.
No, but I know there was a lot of people who was going to listen to this and be like, yeah, we were kind of.
Yeah.
Like, I never paid attention in English. I still, to this day, like anyone that knows me and writes email, thank gosh for autocorrect. Yeah. But I don't know. I can't believe it. Like looking at this book, it's almost surreal. The people that, like Jason, if Jason Koger didn't come on this podcast, that book may not be here either. Because Jason is the one who referred Karen to help me write it. I met Karen, I showed her what I had, and she immediately said, I'm going to help you. I want to help you. God's telling me to help you.
Talk about Karen.
Karen's awesome. She read I sent her what I had in Excel form, sent it to her. She read it. She says, I don't know how we're going to do it, but I'm going to help you do this. Because the money issue was a huge problem at the beginning for me. It cost a lot of money to write a book if you don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And I needed help. I realized that. Karen was awesome, man. The way the process worked, she would read it. She read it. She wrote down her notes. We would do a Zoom call. She'd ask me questions. And we just become for that. It was just great getting an outside perspective. And she's not necessarily a big football fan.
Right.
She loves golf. So her reading and understanding the football lingo was fun for me because she was like, what's a 3 and out? And I'd have to explain that to her. What's a punt? It was just cool just getting to know somebody and that type of thing with her. And yeah, man, it was awesome. And then she recommended Casey Parker, who owns her own company that designed the cover. Working with her was amazing. She formatted it. And I know she probably was, they all were very gracious of how ignorant I was on how to write a book. I would ask them probably in their profession such a basic question. They're like, this is how you do it. But they were all gracious. They all were awesome, amazing. And it all comes back to the plan that God had, me knowing I needed to put it on paper, you doing the podcast, me trusting you, you bringing Jason on here. Jason recommended Karen, Karen recommended Casey. And then this is where we're at.
It's pretty awesome.
It's amazing.
You know who called me last night?
Karen.
Jason. Yeah, Jason called me. Cool. I told him the book's out. He's excited to get a copy, and he said to tell you he's proud of you for going through it and for doing it and for sharing a story. And I want to go back. You mentioned the money thing, and that reminded me of a conversation you and I had. Yep. Do you remember that conversation?
I'll never forget that conversation.
Why don't you talk about it a little bit? And you don't have to put the numbers out. I don't really. It doesn't matter to me, but.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of Brian when he came on here and God put on his heart to start that nonprofit with the horses.
Yeah.
And I remember Brian saying it, this sums it up, like, you can't afford not to do it. Again, it goes back to, for me, being obedient to what God called me to do. And that's weird for me to say, and it's uncomfortable. But for 40-some years, I've ignored it. It's time to stop ignoring it and embrace it and move forward. But yes, it was, Karen was so gracious, and I appreciate her so much for letting me make payments. That's all I'll say. Because without her doing that, this book's not sitting here. So thank you, Karen.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I asked Dan, your response was hilarious. I asked Dan, I was like, man, is this worth it? He goes, you're an idiot. I was like, you know how much money I spend on this podcast just to get people's stories out? And I was like, oh. And I just, like, that's exactly what I needed to hear. So, yes, I remember it.
Yeah, good. I remember it too. Yeah, you remember you reaching out and saying, hey, it's going to cost this much. I'm like, so?
Yeah.
Like, so? Are you doing it for money? You know, is that the hang up, or are you going to listen and make it work? And you did. And it's awesome. What advice would you have for somebody out there who wants to do what you did and put their story on paper? How would somebody get started?
Just start writing. A lot of times I talked into my phone and then I copied it over to Word and kind of did it that way. But just start writing. I mean, again, I know when I say it only took me about 2 months to do, but you got to remember, like, this has been on my mind for a long time.
Yeah.
So I knew exactly what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it and how I wanted it to come across.
Who would you hope reads this book?
A kid who has went through the fire, like we talk about all the time. A person who doesn't necessarily believe in God. Anybody who's ever been through any type of tragedy, divorce, anything. I keep going back to that John 13:7 that Jason says. Like, I never understood why God put me through all that. Now I do. And this is why. This is the why. And it was worth every ounce of pain and everything. It was worth it.
That's awesome.
Hey, by the way, the best writing in this book is from the guy that wrote the foreword. Do you know what Karen said about what you wrote in the foreword?
Mm-mm.
She said, I would not change one word of that. So thank you.
Yeah.
That part gets me a lot. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
So funny story is Dan, when I talked about writing this book, Dan goes, hey, I want to write your foreword. And you remember my response?
No.
I was like, what's that?
I do remember now.
And I was like, I don't even know what that is. And you're like, well, it's kind of like the introduction. And I was like, oh. And then I went and Googled what a foreword is.
Just to confirm.
Just to confirm. Not that I didn't trust you, but I wanted to get the full version of the definition of a foreword.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's awesome.
if that tells you about my writing experience. So if a kid from Preble County who got a D in English can write a book, like, believe me, anyone can.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
What was that teacher's name again?
I don't even know. Miss Freeman.
Yeah.
Shout out Miss Freeman, because now you have taught someone English that has published a book. So shout out to you, Miss Freeman.
And I apologize on all of 1996's graduating class.
That wasn't our class. We were 97.
Oh, 97. See, I think
Holy
football.
cow.
God,
Wow.
Man,
We're going to ask
96.
you history
Early
class.
onset dementia, Shawn Ruebush.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read another passage here. There's I've highlighted a lot of stuff in this book, but there's a couple things that I wanted to read. And I started, actually, what I started reading was from near the end of the book. And
You started at the end?
I started at the end, and that's what I read at the beginning of the podcast. Because I think that last chapter for me, like I know your story, right? Unbelievable story. But I think that last chapter for me really captured who you are now, who you're moving to be. And that's where I really felt a lot of things. But, this goes back to the beginning of the book. And I'm not reading the whole book here. I'm just reading parts of it because I just want to give everybody a taste of the feel for it. So there might come a moment in your life when everything you know is ripped away from you. You might lose people you love, suffer heartbreak or tragedy, and experience pain that doesn't seem fair. You'll ask, why me? You look for answers that don't come. But here's what I've learned by walking through the fire. Pain isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of something greater. I believe that every struggle, every ounce of suffering is preparing you for something bigger. You might not see it now. You might not understand why things are happening the way they are. But one day, it will all make sense. John 13:7 says, you don't realize now what I'm doing, but later you will understand. That's from the introduction. That's a powerful way to come out of the gate. So, with the book, you've been on this growing process. Really, I know you've been going through it for the past 4 or 5 years. But what I've seen, where we've came back into contact with each other and spending a lot of time with each other, talking and texting and all those things. I've seen tremendous growth from you since episode 24 to where we are today. And there's a couple things that happen. One, we talked about it on one of the other episodes where I challenged you to 75 hard. You completed that. I'd like you to talk about that. And then also, you got baptized. So I want to talk about those two things because, though your story is 46 years old, 46 years old now, I think you're just getting started, man. So talk about, you finish the book, you do 75 hard. Talk about that, and then talk about going into being baptized.
Okay. So I wrote my part of the book, and like I said, I did it in 2.5 months, and I did it all in my spare time, and the timing was perfect. I wasn't coaching football at the time. So I just dove into it, just reckless abandon, just dove into it and got it done. And the funny thing is about, I remember completing it, talking to Karen, sending her an email. And I remember what now? And I remember that being on a Wednesday or a Thursday. And so I remember I didn't have my kids that weekend. And it was a Friday night or something. And I'm just, I just spent 2.5 months diving into this book. And I'm like, what's next? Just what's next? So then I remember getting on a video game, Xbox. I haven't played video games forever. And I remember playing, just wasting time on a video game. And I played Saturday. Haven had a volleyball tournament that Sunday. I sent out something to Dan in our group text about discipline. And then Captain Bully over here challenged me to 75 hard that day. We all remember the group text. And I'm not going to lie. You already know how I feel. But I want to understand the leadership and how important having good men in your lives are. because look what I started to do. Not by all means, video games are not terrible, but they do, in my opinion, waste a lot of time, and I've wasted a lot of time on them, and I love them. I absolutely love playing video games, but I've wasted years of my life on them too. So I started back into that, and then it just goes back to God putting that on Dan. To be honest, we've had a conversation about that. I asked Dan, I was like, well, like, why? He goes, I just hear this voice or whatever it was just to be honest with me. And I'm just going to be hard on you and be honest. And that's what I need. And I remember starting 75 hard angrily. I was in a volleyball tournament for Haven. And I remember reading that. I forget which tournament it was, but it was an indoor, clearly an indoor tournament, but it was raining outside. And I downloaded the app that day, and the first thing I saw was 45-minute walk-in, or 2 45-minute workouts. And I'm like, I'm doing one right now. In between a game, I just hit the clock and just started walking. And it was pouring rain outside the entire day. So I'm like, all right, read. I did all of it. The last thing from day one was the outdoor. I had to do an outdoor walk, and I didn't get home till 8 o'clock, and it was pouring rain. And I went and I walked in my woods for 45 minutes, and changed my life. 1 45-minute walk in the rain changed my life, and I got addicted to it. And now I'm coaching football. When I don't get that time for myself, I can feel myself drifting. So I'm with Justin. The water is the worst part of it. I hate the water in 75 hard, but you just do it, man. So that's a long answer for the 75 hard program.
No, that's good.
That's why I started it, was because I was lost. I didn't know what else was next. You made me mad. And I love when people make me mad because it's fuel. I've always used it for fuel. I've used everything for fuel. I had a buddy tell me that I wasn't going to sell any books.
You said a buddy?
Yeah. I don't know if he meant it in a hateful way. I really don't know. But I had a guy say, man, why are you doing that? You ain't going to sell any books. All right.
Watch me.
Yeah, well, Dan heard what I said to him. I don't think I should repeat.
No.
It fired me up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it's what I needed. So.
Yeah, and I'll here's what I'll tell you. I despise video games. And I played them in college. I played them in high school. And they're fun. I mean, my kids play some, but I despise them. And that was the trigger when I don't know if you said something or something came up about video games, and I was like, dude, how are you going to talk about discipline? How are you going to coach high school kids, push discipline on them, and you're going to sit in front of your TV for however many hours and play video games? That was the trigger for me, and I just heard a voice just say, let him have it. Like, let him have it. And I'm going to be honest with you, Shawn, I hear that a lot. I hear that voice in my head a lot about you. Let him have it. He can take it. That's what he needs. That's what pushes him. That's what drives him. That's what motivates him. That's what makes him do what he needs to be doing. So I don't know why that I hear that about you, but I do. I don't hear it about many people because I don't think many people could take it. And the old Shawn would have punched me in the mouth, but there's a new sheriff in town. So I'm glad that you went through 75 hard, and it's an amazing program, a mental toughness program. It's not, it does become a physical thing, right? I mean, you're sore, you're hurting 2 workouts a day, stuck. It's everything that you would think as far as difficulty goes. But what comes from it on the backside, the mental aspect of it, it's the reason that we're sitting here. It's the reason that you're sitting here, it's the reason you are part of our team
right.
at Catrins, right? 100%. My life changed 3 years ago when Jeff Swanson introduced 75 Hard to me. That's when my life changed. Not when I started it, when I completed it. And anybody out there who's, stuck in a rut, this is your way out. It's not easy, but it's your way out. So, with all that being said, you complete 75 hard, and I know that you did it right, because you've already made the comment that you can feel yourself slipping back into, certain routines that you don't like, and you recognize that. But I know what's going to happen. When football is done, when you're done coaching here this season, you're going to hop back on the wagon and you're going to do it again.
How do you know that? I've literally thought that.
Because if not, you're going to get a text one day, and it's going to be like, "What are you doing?"
And I'm going to come over.
Wait, you started phase 2, you dork. That's what it's going to sound
There's going to be a voice in that head of his. That
need to tell Shawn. All right, so from that, a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, I don't remember how long ago it was, but you sent a text to us, to Ben and I, that you were getting baptized. Talk about that. What led to that?
Well, I was baptized when I was 7 or 8 years old, but it didn't mean anything to me. So ever since I've been divorced, I've just wanted to do this, and I've put it off for so long. And I've asked a few people this, that, and the other about, hey, I want to get baptized, but here's the thing about me. Here's what I told them. I don't want to do it in front of people. Mm-hmm. Like that was my thought process. Like, I just want to be quiet over here in the corner by myself. God said, nope. So that's why all those plans fell through. So I believe, I don't know how many people were there.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of people there. Again, it's about being obedient. And Pastor Eric at Church of Faith here in Richmond they talked about a baptism. I skipped the first one.
Why?
I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. Like,
were you afraid?
I don't know. I wasn't afraid. I don't know why. Maybe I wasn't ready mentally. I don't know why. But I just remember, sitting in church and they were talking about, hey, we're having a baptism this week. And I remember, like, I need to do that. And then my flesh said, nope. And so I didn't. And then, I just kept going to church. And then Eric was like, we're having a baptism in New Paris at why can I not think of that?
Today's Harvest.
And I'm like, okay. And then I asked my family, I asked Chase, Haven, Hunter. And so we do it. I decided on a Tuesday to do it. And I talked to Pastor Eric, who calls, which I think this is amazing, but he calls everybody that's getting baptized and he just kind of knows their story. And I told him my story, and he was, everybody that hears my story, I gave him the quick 20-minute version. And he was like, I don't think it surprised him, but it kind of did. And he just poured into me for 20 minutes, man. And he asked me what Jesus was to me. And I said, he saved my life. He saved all of our lives. So, and I talked about that, which I don't think I can talk about that right now. I would lose everything the podcast would end. But he reassured me. He told me what it meant. He asked all the right questions. He made it feel comfortable. And He told me, he's like, Shawn, your old Shawn is dead. The new Shawn is a tool for God. He's going to use you as a tool, and just let him. And I said, okay. It's about being obedient. So why did I choose that time? It's time. It's time for me to be bold in my faith. And I've hidden from that for so long. That's the truth. I hear you have voices in your head. We all do. All I hear is be obedient. And that's what I'm going to do. And what I find absolutely phenomenal and heartwarming is the people that showed up for the baptism. I never expected it. I actually got 3 or 4 texts from angry friends that I didn't tell them. When I posted that on Facebook, they were like, why didn't you tell me I had to come? I'm like, who does that? I'm not going to promote my own baptism. I told you guys because, I mean, you're my close friends. You're the only 2 people I told. Well, I told Justin, and his dad and mom showed up, which was extremely heartwarming. Joe Swartzel is a true man of God that I love to death.
Do you remember what he told you after you were baptized? He gave you a hug. Do you remember what he said?
He said, the devil's going to come for me. The devil can't touch me.
Yeah.
He can't put me through anymore. And I say that, but like I've been through it.
What did you feel when you were baptized? When the water was rushing across your head, what did you feel?
A warmth. Everybody said the water was cold. I felt this warmth come over me. Peace. I felt peace. And what was special about the baptism is I went first and my son went second.
It's powerful.
It's awesome.
Someone else is going to get baptized soon. She just didn't want to do it in front of people either. But I understand.
It's a big step.
But
And the first time and honestly, it's that voice that you said, you heard that voice that keeps saying, be obedient, be obedient, be obedient. I mean, there's also that other voice that's in all of us that tries to get us not to do things like that, and that's what we could battle every single day. But when you get baptized, man, it's just something completely different. And then you talk about the friends and family that want to come support you in the baptism. It's because probably been baptized and they know what it feels like, and they know the new Shawn. And
that was the biggest surprise to me. Like I mean, and there was a lot of people there that came up and gave me hugs. I mean, my neighbor Chris is amazing. Jason, a guy that used to work for me when I was at Love's, was there. I've never experienced love like that. And that's why it's emotional. That's why it's heartwarming. That's why it's overwhelming for a person like me, because I'm not used to that.
You didn't have that growing up, but you got it now.
I've had it the whole time. I just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
Everybody does. It's just you don't realize how much God loves you and Jesus loves you until you understand what Jesus did on that cross for all of us. Once you understand that, it's easy to receive love and give love, because you look at our lives and how comfortable we are and what that man went through. And it's,
Yeah. Hey, Haven, can you step up to the mic back there? So we've got Shawn's daughter, Haven, here. And we'll We'll adjust the mic. She's got her dad's height.
Hey, she's going to be way taller than me, probably. Hopefully.
Haven, what do you think?
I don't know.
You can't give
There's the answer.
typical kid answer. Let me ask you this.
Wait, that was 3 words though.
That was.
So
I don't know.
we're improving here.
IDNK. I'm surprised she didn't say that.
All right, here's a better question. What does your dad mean to you?
Everything.
Why is that? What do you see in your dad that other people might not see yet?
Goofiness. And kindness.
You're a mean person, Dad.
Your dad's a special man. I think you know that and you recognize that. And he, he's been through a lot. I know you guys have been through a lot, but he's a special man. If you could tell him one thing right now, what would you tell him?
That I love him.
That's awesome. What do you think?
I love her too. I love all my children.
It's pretty awesome. It's so amazing for me to watch this transformation because, I've known you since you were a kid. We competed on the field together, on the diamond, on the basketball court. I remember you being in the hospital after your accident. I remember you seeing you doing some crazy things. I remember seeing you knock some people out. I mean, there was, but it's unbelievable for me to see the transformation, knowing all that you've been through. And dude, you wrote a book. Shawn Ruebush wrote a book. It's amazing. It continues to add to your story of, doesn't matter what you've been through, how dark or how deep it was in your life, that you can do anything. And I hope that's what people gain from your story. I know it is. I've heard it enough from other people who've listened to the podcast, and you're going to be overwhelmed with people that read the book. And I'm going to end this with one last reading that, you got some good quotes in here. I got to find it that, you put at the top of each chapter. And I think this summarizes you. It's from C.S. Lewis. It says, you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the end. You started where you're at. You can't change what happened, right? You can't change all the things you went through as an 11-year-old boy, the challenges you went through on your various jobs and alcohol and just all the things you've been through in your life. You can't change that, and you don't want to change that. But you can start where you're at, and you can change that ending. And I think that summarizes this book. It summarizes your life. And I'm extremely excited to see where we go from here, for sure. You got anything to add?
Yeah. Quick question. So you talk about when you first, when we first had you on the podcast and you told your story and you talked about how you knew that when Dan started the podcast and he asked you that this was going to be the time, right? Was it the vulnerability of Dan telling his story that made you feel like this was the platform to do it? Or what was that feeling that gave you like, this is it? Like you knew that you had it all in you. You knew you wanted to tell it. What gave you that confidence to come on here and tell it?
Trust. And Dan.
Mm-hmm.
It all goes back to, and this is why football is important for the youth. Like when you go through football and you go through all of that stuff with individuals, there's a bond that will never be taken away from you. There's he was my offensive, you played left tackle, left guard, one of those? I don't know. That's 40.
Right guard.
Right guard.
Jeez,
Couldn't
really
put him on the-
impacted you.
Couldn't put him on the blind side.
Yeah, I know. Hey, no kidding.
I was your right guard.
Okay.
Makes sense.
But that's why, because I've, trust was the biggest thing. Like when we went through that bond in football 2 days for, the 6 years we spent together, like that means something. And I've always looked up to you, Dan, with your business and how you conduct yourself and, your everyday life and your family, and your dad is an amazing person. Your brother's great. I just, it came down to respect and trust. And I trusted that you would handle my story the right way. You would do it the right way. And I think that was the biggest hurdle of, like, I'm not the guy, this is going to sound weird, but I'm not the guy that'll go online and just promote me. Like anyone who ever looks at my Facebook, I was one of those guys that would just scroll through and never post, ever. Because that was super uncomfortable for me. So trusting you with my story, it was the 100% the factor of, like, this is it. And when I heard you say that, there's all kinds of voices in my head, like, yes, this is it. But then again, I still, look how long it took me. I think you told me on your 6th episode, I think, because I went back and I looked that day. I was like, there were 6. And then I looked at the first one. I was like, maybe this isn't the avenue.
That's pretty bad. I agree. Hey, everybody's got to start somewhere,
Hey.
right?
God loves the humble beginnings, right?
Yeah.
So, that's why it was that trust.
When you go back to the beginning of, like, your first time telling it, and then we do this, the second, and then we do the live. Like, if you go back and you have time to listen to all those, you can see the faith journey happening, like, in those podcasts, and to see where you're at right now, man, it's awesome. I'm so proud of you. And and that's what Dan talks about, the transformation that he was blessed enough to see, right? Like, since you guys were little, have that brotherhood with you. And I'm just lucky enough to be able to see you tell your story, and then see almost like the peace that's come over you, and then just you killing it in life, man. It's awesome.
I think me telling my story accelerated it.
Yeah.
For sure. And also just, go back and look at the first episode compared to the second episode to probably this episode with my weight.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was about to say. You can't tell that you're in football season and not hitting the 2 workouts a day.
Well, thank you.
You're looking good, brother.
Thank you. I've lost. I was always on a health journey before I've started 75 hard. Well, somewhat. I started back in mid-January, just trying to start eating healthy. But once again, I got up to 200 pounds. I'm 5'7".
What are you, 4'2"? 4'2"? Or
4'2".
sorry, 5.
See, everybody, he's a bully.
Yeah.
I'm just messing.
I know you.
And go out and be tempered.
So, but I was mid-January. I was almost 200 pounds. I'm 160 now. Yeah. I lost about 10 pounds before I started 75 hard, and 75 hard just accelerated it. And it brought me to fasting a little bit. I did a 3-day fast in the middle of 75 hard.
3 days.
Yeah. Tried it again about 2 weeks ago, and I made it 41 hours, and I about died. I literally walked out of a meeting. I got up, walked out of a meeting, and said, I got to go. And I literally went across the gas station and just shoved a bunch of sugar junk food in my mouth. I don't know why. That first 3 days, the first time I did it, once I got past the hunger part, I was working out. Maybe that's the difference. I haven't been able to work out when I was with football.
Yeah.
But I felt great. at the end of 3 days, I literally felt amazing. And I know this sounds weird, but the longer I went, the more energy I had too. Like I had energy I was just full of energy, very productive. And I was doing the 2 workouts. They were awesome, and I was lifting more weight than ever. And my workouts went from 45 minutes to, like, I could easily go an hour and 15 without batting an eye. And then, but yeah, I mean, now I think the difference when I tried the 3-day fast this time is I wasn't doing the workouts, and the hunger just got me.
Yeah. Well, and you're just in a different mental state when you're in the program.
You
too.
are,
yeah,
100%.
You're locked in. So, anything you want to close with that you want to leave our listeners that we didn't talk about?
For the longest time, man, I've chase your purpose, man. Like, I think God has given everybody a gift, and I think. So when I was doing 75 Hard, I listened to David Goggins a lot. And the story he tells about, and this hit me like a ton of bricks. He tells a story, it's like, I think it was Joe Rogan, where he's like, what's your biggest fear? And his biggest fear was when David Goggins goes to heaven, there's a big board up there, and he's, God's in front of him and Jesus and all that. And it says, Navy SEAL, changed millions of people's lives and this, that, and the other. And David Goggins was like, I think I told it wrong, but that expectation that God has for you in the life that, like, if I got up there and it says, whatever it says about me and I didn't live up to that, like, that's David Goggins' was biggest fear, and that's the way I feel like. And that's why I keep talking about God put this on me for a reason. And if I don't be obedient and tell my story, like when I meet him, like what does that say about Shawn Ruebush? What does that say about Ben? What does that say about Dan? And are you meeting God's expectation for your life? Are you using his gifts that he gave you?
Do we live up to our potential?
Yep.
Of what he saw for us?
And again, the closer you get to God, the harder it becomes, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Because you always talk about the imposter syndrome, like 100%. Like I struggle some days. Everybody does, I think. But you just got to keep moving forward. God has given you a gift. Use it.
It's great.
And the obedience thing, I think we all struggle with too. What I always tell myself is, if I'm trying to be obedient with God and I believe the Holy Spirit's telling me something and I do it, and I might miss, I don't think the God I serve is one that's going to be like, yeah, Ben, you screwed it up. Like, now you're going to deal with the consequences. Like, I feel like if you feel like you're being obedient to God and you're doing the right thing, I think God's going to take care of you. And if you're off the path, he's going to put you right back on the path. But I believe that's a God we serve. I
agree. And you may not know what that next step is, but just keep walking forward, and it'll open up. Mm-hmm. It will open up. I don't know what's next. Well, I may have a feeling what's next, but I don't know how that's going to work out. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm going to keep walking forward, and I'm going to start being more obedient. And I put my trust in God.
Amen.
Amen. All right, everybody. Turning pain into purpose. We'll have links to the show. You can see it on the screen right now if you're on YouTube or on Patreon. There's a couple of different ways to get it through Amazon or Shawn's website as well. But buy this book. Buy it for yourself. Buy it for someone else who needs to hear it. Buy it for that kid out there who you know is struggling, that needs to see that no matter what happens in your life, that you will get through it. It will get better. You just got to keep taking that step. Also, if there's any businesses out there, if there's any church groups, anybody out there looking for a speaker. Shawn did not give me permission to say this, but I'm going to say it anyways because I'm a bully. Shawn is available to come and share his story, and beyond his story, the lessons that he's learned in life about how to persevere, how to get through it, how to have faith, and he's just starting that journey. But if you're looking for somebody to come and motivate, to come and inspire, to come and help that one person, Shawn's your man. So you can reach Shawn. He's on all social media platforms. Well, again, we'll have everything linked to this episode. You can reach out to me or to Ben or to the BeTempered website. We'll have everything on there as well. But support him. Continue to support the show like you do. We appreciate all that stuff. Go out, be tempered.
Hi, my name is Allie Schmidt. This is my dad, Dan. He owns Caitlin's Glass.
Thanks, Allie. Things like doors and windows go into making a house. But when it's your home, you expect more, like the great service and selection you'll get from Caitlin's Glass. Vinyl replacement windows from Caitlin's come with a lifetime warranty, including accidental glass breakage replacement. Also ask for custom shower doors and many other products and services. Call 962-1636, locally owned with local employees for nearly 30 years.
Caitlin's Glass, the clear choice.
Hey, do you want to catch every episode live as it's being recorded? Log on to patreon.com/BeTempered for exclusive footage behind the scenes, photos, and a live recording as it takes place. Go to patreon.com/BeTempered.